The purpose of this video is not to review everything that we learned. We did a 2-day review on that in class. That's for you to study. Ani rotze lachzor al ma shelamanu al hamishnah hazot. Kodem kol al 11 מלאכות הראשונות, 11 מהמלאכות הראשונות, הן קשורות למלאכת של עשיית לחם או חומרי הצביעה, the dyes. חומרי are materials, צביעה are colors, dyes. המלאכות הבאות, 12-13 הבאות, הם כולם קשורים להכנת האריגים, the woven curtains. 6-7 מלאכות הבאות קשורות להכנת האורות, the skins or the hides or the furs שהיו במשכן. כל המלאכות הם דברים שעשו במשכן. סליחה, והאחרונות קשורות לקרשים, mostly, to the boards. Both הם כתבו עליהם, הם מחקו, they erased and wrote, הם בנו וסתרו וכולי. קשורות יותר לקרשים, the boards, שבנו בהם את המקדש. You need to know this chart. אני אתן לכם מלאכות, אתם צריכים להגיד לי, the last column, which category did it belong to? You have to do a matching with that. ואז היה לנו את הצ'ארט הזה. אני דיברתי עם כמה מורים והחלטתי, I'm going to give you the מלאכה, not like I said to you in class, I'm going to give you the מלאכה, and you're going to have to tell me an example, and these are perfect examples to use. If you have other examples, למלאכה אפשר להשתמש בהם, אבל אני רוצה שתכתבו בעברית ככל שאתן יכולות. So I'm going to go over this chart, and that's going to be pretty much the whole video. זורע זה האב מלאכה הראשון, planting, putting a seed, שמים את הזרע בתוך האדמה, ואם אני משקה, water, את הפרחים, זה תולדה של זורע, כי זה עוזר לגידול, it helps it grow. חורש is plowing. אני צריך לעשות חור בתוך האדמה, hole בתוך האדמה, ואם אני חופר, bore, I dig a hole in the ground, not for the purpose of plowing for planting, but I just dig a hole. זה גם כן תולדה של חורש. Again, תולדה זה דומה לאב מלאכה. Most of the time, זה דומה לאב מלאכה in its purpose. It has the same purpose. I'm trying to make things grow when I water the plants, and I'm trying to plant a seed. Those are related because they have the same purpose. Excuse me. קוצר זה כשאני חותך את התבואה, wheat or any other growing, like cut the grass, anything like that. אם אני לוקח תפוח מהעץ, okay, זה תולדה. It's not exactly cutting the plant, אלא זה הפרי מהעץ. Obviously, it has to be connected to the tree. If I have a banana, a whole bunch of bananas together and I break them apart, that's not connected to the tree, v'zeh mutar legamri. It's only when it's connected to the ground or to the tree, shezeh isur b'shabbat. Dash, ze melacha, shani lokech et ha-wheat, et ha-chita, mitoch ha-chelek ha-chitzoni, what's called in English the chaff, okay? It's connected to the chaff, it's covered by the chaff, and I squeeze it to get that out. I squeeze grapes to make grape juice. Ze isur doraita ze tolada shel dash. Don't forget that a tolada is just as asur as an av malacha. It's just not in the Mishnah. It's not in the list of things they did in the Mishkan. It's not in the Mishnah, and it's not in the Mishkan. But it is just as asur. If I go to borer, is kind of choosing, I separate things. I normally would take, if I have, let's say, nuts and raisins, and I want the nuts, I cannot remove the raisins, but I can take what I want. Mutar lakachat et ma shani rotzeh, asur lakachat et lahutzi et ma shani lo rotzeh. Ze ma she'asur. V'lachein im yesh agvaniot, tomatoes, betoch salat, that is the av melacha borer. It's not a tolada. That's exactly what I'm not allowed to do. Ze ha'av melacha. Tochein is grinding. Normally it was done with wheat. So they make flour. They ground the wheat kernel. Bit lasot mimenu kemach. And v'lachein im ani chotech batzel, an onion, lechatichot ktanot ma'od, I dice it, zet tolada. It's not exactly the same as grinding. If I take a coffee bean and grind that, if I take salt shaker that grinds, if it grinds, ze ha'av melacha. Aval im ani chotech pri o משהו אחר, לחתיכות מאוד מאוד קטנות, זה תולדה. Lash, is to knead, to לקחת את הקמח, ולערב את זה, to mix it, עם מים, לעשות אותו לעיסה, לדו. So that's exactly the av melacha here, לערב קמח עם מים, זה האב מelacha. Ofe is baking, וזה איסור דאורייתא, גם בישול זה איסור דאורייתא, ולכן לבשל עוף בתוך התנור זה האב מלאכה. זה רק דוגמה לאב מלאכה. On the test, I might ask you for an example. Gozez is cutting the wool off of a sheep, shearing as it's called, גזיזת הצמר, או ניתוק דבר המחובר לגוף האדם. Okay, so אם אני גוזז ציפורניים, I cut my nails, זה תולדה של גוזז. It's not גוזז, it's not hair, אבל, and to pluck a hair, let's say an eyelash, eyebrow, whatever, מהראש שלי זה גם כן תולדה של גוזז. גוזז is usually done with some kind of shearing device or scissors. מלבן זה לעשות את הצמר לבן, לנקות את זה. Right? Nikui v'libun tzemer or pishtan is flax. L'kedei l'nakoto l'chabes. So im ani mechabes begadim in a washing machine, ze av melacha shel melaben. Moving on, tzovea is dyeing, okay, is coloring, in other words. Ve'im ani sam tzeva al daf lavan, that's not really dyeing because it's not as permanent, the same way that dye takes hold of the wool. L'chein zerak asur midirabanan. Kosher is tying a knot, twice tying a knot. L'chein imani kosher chut shel hatzitzit sheli, or any chut, I take my shoelace and I tie a double knot. Ze gam kein av melacha. It's exactly dugma shel ha'av melacha. All of this you know is on page 1213. Matir is to untie the knot. So if I untie the knot in my shoe, I had a double knot in my shoe, it's really annoying. Ani matir it, hatir is to untie. Tofer is sewing, so that's, I take a needle with a thread and I put it into a fabric over and over again in order to connect let's say two pieces of fabric, like I do, when you make a hem or whatever it is. So lahadbik niarot, to glue two pieces of paper, im devek zetolada. I'm also taking two things and connecting them. Here I'm not connecting them with a thread, but I'm connecting them with glue. V'lachein zetoladat tofer. Korea is ripping, let's say to rip the purpose of Korea is to rip a garment so that I could resew it properly if it was done wrong. But if I rip a piece of paper and I need Korea, chatichat niyar, ze tolada shel Korea. Tzad is hunting. V'lachein im ani tzad behema ze isur daraita. I trap an animal. I either with a trap or I get the animal to run into my room and I lock the door. Ze gam kein isur tzad. So lechasot zvuv im kos. I have a bee or a bug in my sukkah and I turn a cup over. Actually, ze isur d'Rabbanan. Trapping a bug or a bee is not an isur d'Oraita because these are not animals that people trap normally. And unless it's an animal that people normally trap, zerak asur midrabanan. Shochet laharog Ba'al chai, any animal. Lotzi et hadag mehamayim ze tolada. It's not the same way to kill the animal, but if you take the hadag mitoch hamayim, ze isur d'oraita, ze tolada. Memachek is to smooth out. They used to have the leathers, and they used something to smooth it out, to make it flatter. That is an isur. That's one of the av mlachot. Lahachlik mishcha ala basar, to put ointment onto my skin, is a tolada. I'm also making my skin smooth, so using creams or ointment on my skin is an isur d'oraita, but it's a tolada. Kotev is writing. Drawing would be a tolada of writing, but if I write two letters, isur d'oraita. Mochek is to erase, and if I erase a painting or something that I drew, zegam kein tolada. Boneh is to construct or to build. Leave note, ohel, to build a tent, to pitch a tent, is ze av malacha, actually. V'soter is to take apart, to knock down a tent. We're not talking about a tent like a blanket that I throw over a couch, but actually a tent that has stakes in the ground and is very solid. Ze av malacha shel boneh, to make it. O soter, when I take it apart. Eish, lechabot eish, is to put out the fire, to extinguish a fire. Lechabot, or chashmal, incandescent bulbs, a tolada shel mechabe eish, to put it out. I'm putting out the light bulb. Mav'ir is to ignite a fire, to lehadlik eish, v'lehadlik, or a regular incandescent bulb. Ze tolada, ze isur d'oraita. Makeme patish is the final blow I do when I'm constructing something. I complete the building, and the chavein psanter, to tune a piano or to tune a guitar, ze tolada, because it is the final effect that I'm doing in order to make it work properly. It's not working properly, the piano or the guitar. When I fix it, it works. And finally, hotzah is carrying, and if I carry anything where there's no eruv, we know where that is. And the tolada of that is getting something from one place to another. If ani zorek kadur lechaver b'makom she'ein eruv, ze tolada. I'm not actually carrying it. Ani zorek et ze, aval ze tolada. The rest you're on your own. You can do it. I have a lot of confidence in you.